May edition, week 3, and here we have another Group D match, Sryzen versus Wiki Kernel. I'm Quarter, and I'm really excited to present this to you guys. Sryzen and Wiki Kernel has always been a very interesting matchup indeed, with Sryzen tending to be like the most aggro player in Group D, as I've said a couple times now, bringing some very impressive things into this in their previous teams. Obviously, they do have a chance to mix things up again. We've already seen Wiki Kernel has had a pretty intimidating team to match into. Wiki Kernel, Nekoblocky still taking the first few games against them, but I mean, those were still some close games. With that, we do still have, of course, the opportunity of everybody to change their matches up here. I am kind of wondering whether Sryzen still indeed has that spectacular Nature Chromion on their team from a couple weeks ago. Always a fun thing to see there. With that, we will just be waiting for our two contestants to be getting into this best of 2. After that, of course, later on at 14:30 UTC, as you can see right there on the Boobledy-Boo, we do indeed have a Group A match. Jay Doragon versus Zookly should be very fun indeed. Jay Doragon, no slouch in the fun teams department. Obviously still has some spectacular things to witness in the form of course, their almost archetypical Noxolotl there, which is definitely a powerful thing to see. Also, we've seen a lot of other interesting spice in terms of those lineups. Zookly, another of our fellow Tamers contestants, generally very fun to see. With that, we are getting into the game. So, with that, we do have Sryzen versus Wiki Kernel right here. And as we can see, Sryzen has swapped up their team. We see an Inky on Sryzen's team. Super cool. All right, Inky and Golzy. So these are some unexpected threats coming up from Sryzen. Wiki Kernel, as we saw before, has like the same team they've been throwing around pretty recently. We've got the Kinu Yaller and the Kinu Golzy. We see the Firequosh as the first ban there. Interesting first ban out of Sryzen, leaving the Kinu open. We see the Hedge in first ban out of Wiki Kernel, not respecting the Inky, although not very many people do, given it's got so many weaknesses. We see a first pick of Firequosh, suggesting a Firequosh OCR or a Firequosh Valish opener from Sryzen here, both of which would be pretty devastating into Wiki Kernel, disregarding, of course, that Mashuk, which, as we saw in previous matches, can just pull the rug out from under an aggressive lead like that. Obviously, we still have Blizzard to be aware of there, but there's very few ways in which a Blizzard will outspeed a Wastewater Koish. It looks, however, like Wiki Kernel is eyeballing the Hedge-In. Are we going to see a double Hedge-In opener here? My only concern... Nope, we do see the Mashuk. It is, in fact, a double Mashuk. So this Wastewater combo is going to be very, very frightening for Sryzen to get into here. The Golzy is picked to try to resist some of this. Does this mean that we're likely to see a Mashuk second ban? I think so, but no, we actually see the Ociara second ban, keeping the Hedge-In safe, and generally putting a lot less heat on the bogey in the back line of Wiki Kernel. You don't have to deal with that Cerbatia's Wrath. You don't have to deal with that Aquatic Whirlwind and everything like that. It's just pretty powerful stuff. So with that, we do see our second ban being the Yowler out from Sryzen as the Mimit is picked up and the Hedge-In on Wiki Kernel's side. Yeah, it's looking like some pretty fun matchups right here. Looking at this just at the start, I feel like Wiki Kernel, if they can just keep powering into Sryzen, then it's going to be kind of a nightmare. Sryzen still has their own Mashuk to try to levy this, but that's going to take some repositioning for them to be able to take full advantage of. I feel like that as a swap in turn 1 honestly isn't the worst thing in the world. My concern then is, of course, still doubling into the Golzy here could be very frightening. In the meantime, though, we see the Inky does get picked up. Concerning, but still valuable, I think. It will still... I'm trying to see what this Inky will actually do here. It takes down the Golzy, I guess, and it scares out the Kinu, but it's still very vulnerable to the Valish, to the two Mashuks, all sorts of things here. Still, though, we are getting into our first game as we get in between Sryzen and Wiki Kernel. Is this going to be the matchup that shifts the dominating performance that Sryzen has had in this matchup before? As I do like Wiki Kernel's opener here. We've always seen a 2-0 from Sryzen into Wiki Kernel in previous matchups, but this one could shift things around a bit. We do have some good defensive swap-ins to Toxic, but my problem is those aren't covering, outside of the Mashuk, they don't cover a effective double-in from this. We actually see Sryzen just stay in and charge hardcore into this Mashuk. Is this going to be a double into that slot? We see the Sparkling Bullet come down. We see the Quetzalino come down as well. This brings it down to 36%. The Wastewater comes in, bodying that Koish, but not taking it out as the second Wastewater goes into that slot, throwing a bunch of damage into the Koish that could have gone into the Golzi. As we see that War Drum, which is probably what got seized there, really made a difference. Additionally, Aloe Vera on Golzi is an interesting little slot there. We do see the Mimit immediately becoming another Mashuk. So this looks like Sryzen sort of plugging the holes in this matchup with his own Mimit and, of course, his Mashuk. If we see an all Mashuk board here, at that point, I think Sryzen can start turning that around based on the damage that they've already done to that Mashuk. Of course, we do have double Doppelganger Brooch problems here, though, as it's entirely possible that Wiki Kernel could just be charging into Rysowski here. But if you do that, then you're leaving Golzi alone, and Golzi has Aloe Vera. That Suplex is going to smack if it is indeed packing Suplex, and if not, Charged Iron Filings is still a big problem to both of these Tems. Wiki Kernel sees this and actually swaps into Golzi here. If this is a CIF, though, then that still is probably not going to appreciate the combination of these hits, and the nullification means that the uppercut can start coming out as well. The Oshidashi, both of these still significant threats, as the Aloe Vera still smacks into the Mimit a good amount there. We do see that nullifies a bit of the damage in terms of that last poison tick, but honestly, that's not the worst thing. Yeah, sure, you lose that, but in the meantime, that's no double screen for this Golzi. That's no Doppelganger Brooch for this Mimit. Golzi's diffuser here has been actually really significant into Wiki Kernel. Sryzen definitely showing that, speccing that aggressively there with the Aloe Vera is working out right now. Like, I walked into this thinking, oh, this was going to be a bit of a risky matchup, but being able to plug those holes with the Mimit there, being able to throw back the same pressure and aggression, taking out the Golzi this turn with that, the Sparkling Bullet slamming into this Mimit, slowly but surely taking it down. Its Tireless will be getting online here, as we do see the Wastewater volley back into this Golzi, but that comes at the cost of a massive amount of HP, as we can see there. With that, we see our Hedgen pop out there. The Plasma Beam will do tons into Rysowski. Is it going to do enough into Rysowski? The answer is probably not, and this means that we're likely going to need to see this Hedgen hit this Golzi first out of respect for the Sparkling Bullet. We don't have any synergy for it, but we also still have, of course, Charged Iron Filings online. Yeah, no, the Plasma Beam had to go into the Golzi first, otherwise we're going to run the risk of taking those electric hits, which you just cannot afford. This means that the Uppercut is free to smash into that Hedgen, dealing over 50% of its HP. We will see a bit of retaliation here as the Uppercut smashes back into Rysowski here, but with the Doppelganger Brooch still seized, that doesn't do as much as you'd want, and this is 3.7% onto this Mimit now. The Inky comes into a startlingly friendly board. We still have a Hellfire that's very scary here, and the Mimit, which is equally scary, but depends on what Inky this is, right? If this is DC Beam Inky, then this is just hilarious. It's likely that this is Fizzmaster. Usually, if it's Specmaster, we see Chamomile in order to allow those Thunder Strikes to really smash out there. The Hellfire does, as predicted, come down, and it actually takes down the Mimit, takes the Inky down to 27.9%, as hopefully there are enough swap-ins on Sryzen's side to accommodate this. It definitely looks like Wiki Kernel is still keeping the advantage despite a dire mid-game, as the Hedgen is in exactly the right position to take down this remaining Mashuk, and there's just too many other things for Sryzen's Mashuk to take down. Oh, man. 5 turns and 5 Tems dead. This is the glory of... 5 Tems dead? 6 Tems dead, folks. As we do still see the Valish come in on one side, the Mashuk come in on the other side, and the combination of Crystal Spikes and Plasma Beam is gonna close this game out for Wiki Kernel, it looks like. Yep, Sryzen does tap out right there, seeing that there's no way for this to come back. And I'd like to congratulate Wiki Kernel for taking that back in that game. As I said previously, that matchup has been a nightmare for them in the past. Sryzen definitely not being able to keep that same pace with what they chose here. The Inky just immediately going down to the Hedge and not being able to throw enough into the Hedge really worked out for Wiki Kernel there. The fact that the Tireless Mashuk wasn't able to take it down in time, very important indeed. With that, I'm going to just check quickly to see if our fine combatants are ready to just hop directly into their second match, or if they need a break. Obviously, this like usually we get like, you know, 5 to 10, like a 2 to 5 minute break sometimes for our contestants in between things here. So once again, that is 1 win to Wiki Kernel here. If he wins the second one, that of course does mean that he gets 3 points into this. If we see a tie instead, then that's 1 point to either side. But it does look like we do not need a break. We are ready to hop right back into this, and it's looking like we're going to get another bloodbath on our hands. These are two pretty aggressively spec'd teams charging into each other. We do still, of course, see the Kinu on Wiki Kernel's team, but that didn't even get picked. Definitely looks like they're both champing at the bit and looking to just tear each other to pieces. With that, we will be hopping in the moment they get in game. They've been given the notice to invite when ready, so we should have our second game just ready for you guys at a moment's notice. With that, we are in, as I said. So my next question here is Sryzen gonna let Wiki Kernel get the same things off again? I feel like that Hedgen and that Mashuk were both like more priorities than he wanted to respect last game, and we see the first ban of that Mashuk this game. We also see a Hedgen ban instead on Wiki Kernel's side. That's an interesting bit right there. Actually, I believe that is what we saw banned last time, so that's reasonable there. But the Mashuk ban on Wiki Kernel's side, definitely important going in there, obviously. So we see the Kinu picked on Wiki Kernel first there. Obviously, when you're blue side, Kinu is just such an easy option. We do see Firequoish Mimit immediately picked out of Sryzen, like unrepentantly just charging him with double Firequoish. This is going to be very challenging for Wiki Kernel without the Mashuk to appropriately deal with. We do see it looks like we're going to see his own Firequoish hit the field. If this is an attempt at a Yowler swap-in, then you'd better hope that doesn't get banned second, because I don't see anything else here that's really going to want to eat that aggression out of that. We see the Hedgen ban instead, so this does mean that the Yowler is open, but of course the Hedgen was another strong swap-in to a bunch of predicted fire moves. We see the Osiara ban on Sryzen's side, so a lot of the heavier hitters on both teams have been dealt with. The Mashuk is still available on Sryzen's side. The Yowler is still available on Wiki Kernel's side. Both of these seem like they will be pretty valuable options here. The Inky hits the board again. I'm interested in seeing what Sryzen's doing with this Inky. We didn't get to see anything out of it last game. But, you know, maybe it'll surprise us. Maybe it'll wow us still. In the meantime, of course, we do have our Mimit pickup from Wiki Kernel again. Mimits have been such a deciding factor in some of these matches, but we'll have to see what comes of this. I'm curious to see if we see the same sort of leak plugging from Wiki Kernel as we saw from perhaps Sryzen last game, because honestly, the more that I look at this, the more I think, oh man, that Kinu could just swap out into another Firequoish. And unless Sryzen reads that, that's a really good thing to eat that. Like, the current mind game for this opener does feel like, are you doubling in fire moves? Are you doubling in water moves? Do you do like a combination of lava wave ice cubes, for instance? That could be an interesting thing to go for, just to get the Synergy Seas into just a good double Synergy Master ice cubes. If you're trying to play it safe, obviously that's not like high tier damage on the Kinu, but one lava wave's all you're gonna need. It's not gonna stay there. Still though, getting into our game 2, Wiki Kernel versus Sryzen, we see a +1 set of defenses from the Protector buff immediately onto the Koish on Wiki Kernel's side versus 2 terrifying Koish on Sryzen's side. We do see the oops all Koish field appear in front of us as the water cannon actually comes down instead. Somebody is not up on their ice cubes tech, as in fact we do see the double water cannon not succeed in taking it down. We see another water cannon hit back into it, and I'm kind of surprised, given how well we've seen the ice cubes go, that none of our players here have gone for it. Still though, The special attack obviously hits better into things if people are physically specking for physical defense. I don't actually expect that from any of these fish, but you never know. My next question is, do any of them run ice cubes? Are we going to see them this turn? If so, then Mashuk is still a fantastic opener in here. We actually see Wiki Kernel swap again back into Kinu, just trying to get those cheeky buffs off. Interesting to see, given the fact that the Mimit has been heavily targeted this entire time. My question is this going to be Lava Waves? And it is! The Lava Wave smacks down into this Kinu. Is it going to be a second Lava Wave, or is this the... Oh, even better, the Hypnosis. There's no need to double in on that slot, and there's no need to just seize this Koish when you... and do barely any damage, when instead you can just... make sure that it doesn't get a very valuable turn, leaving you plenty of space to just tear apart Wiki Kernel's left slot, which is unfortunate for Wiki Kernel, obviously, here, because I don't see a world in which Sryzen does not maintain their advantage by doubling into this Golzi slot as hard as is humanly possible. Golzi, of course, does not have any good moves open at the moment to try to deal with that. We do see the Yowler hop in, potentially on the other side there. We do see the Yowler in on that side, as the Lava Wave does body into this Golzi. The combination of them will still overexert the Koishes here, but they will come at the cost of yet another Tem on Wiki Kernel's side. That's 2 Tems down and a Mimit at like under 20% in 3 turns. So this is the power of double Fire Koish. It is truly a monstrous opener, and if you see it coming, you definitely need to be aware of what it can do into you. We do see the visual Koish bug there. We actually saw it flash from red to blue very quickly there. This is a bug that returned to the game after a bit. It's a fun one to see, but this just adds even more variety to our Koish colorations this turn. Still though, this I think is the chance for Wiki Kernel to get back into this game and reposition. We have the +2 defenses on the Fire Koish. We have a Yowler with hold now. If you just body into one of these slots, that should be enough to start trying to tilt things back. The Mashuk hits the board here. If this is a suplex Quetzaleno into that spot, then that's going to be nightmarish, because I do feel like the Mashuk is one of the best things to try to take this game back on Sryzen's side. The Aloe Vera Golzi not getting as much value into this. We do see it Water Cannon instead. Unfortunate into the Mashuk. A very good defensive swap into that, considering it would have been lovely to see a Quetzaleno that turn, obviously, but we still have that option open this turn. It's likely to outspeed anything on Sryzen's side of the board. The Charged Iron Filings and not being able to hit the Golzi this turn comfortably is a real problem, though, and I think that lack of momentum bringing it back from Wiki Kernel is going to be really damning here. Like, the reason why I winced when I saw the Water Cannon into the Mashuk there is because, like, that double swap was the turn you wanted to take momentum back. It was unlikely that those Koish were going to be staying there and resting into a Yowler that was likely to KO with a suplex. So, anticipating that, throwing the Quetzaleno in there and the suplex, you were guaranteed either a Koish KO anyways, because the suplex was KOing them, or something else into there. So, seeing the Water Cannon into the Mashuk swap just felt like a bit of agony, as Wiki Kernel's chance to get back into this game just gets crushed underfoot from the heavy aggression from Sryzen. I don't know if we're even going to see this Inky come out, as the Quetzaleno does come down into the Mashuk. Will take it down, but now this Golzi's gonna be perfectly free to throw Charged Iron Filings out into both of these Tems. The Nullification being, of course, valuable as well, seized alongside that, meaning that the Matcha that is potentially an item on this Yowler, or a double... no, we would have seen a double screen, so it's likely Matcha, Energy Drink, or something like that. We don't see a Res Badge either. That would have been revealed. We see the Fire Koish return to the board on this side. This means that we can just see a, oh man, we can actually see the Rysowski there turn into a Yowler and see opposing Quetzalenos come in. That is another thing that is open to us. But honestly, at this point, I think you just, Quetzaleno even into the fish. It's a little awkward seeing the Mimit enter. Because of the board that Sryzen has there, you're not really able to get the double Fire Koish back into this. It's awkward, is the thing. Like, if Sryzen swaps in their Mimit now, it turns into a Yowler. I don't know if it really wants to be a Yowler. It's still very good as a Yowler, obviously. It's not just the most ideal thing in the world. The Quetzaleno does smash into this Golzi, and it does take it down. Did I speak too soon, perhaps? And will the Synergy Master Fire Koish be able to take enough back? The water cannon is going to be smashing down into this Koish, but thanks to the +2/+2, it is not enough to take it down from that percentage, even after the overexertion. Savage Suplex coming smashing into this other Koish. Definitely depleting it, as we see it's a 15% stamina and 13.7% HP. That's barely anything left there. We see the Mimit does hit the board as second Yowler. So this is another way for Sryzen to try to take more back here. At this point, it's really just trying to get that little bit of extra pressure in on this side. Obviously, if Yowler hibernates, then because there's no additional Cs here, then if this is a Matcha Yowler, then it's perfectly capable of getting all of its stamina and unfreezing next turn. But we've yet to see whether that is in fact a matcha or if it's energy drink or anything else like that. A lot of people are running matcha these days. We do see that the fire chip is of course still seized off the Koish, but I don't expect that Koish to live another turn. The Mimit could be coming in here to try to eat the hit, but that feels like a loss or a loss there. You probably still want to conserve your buffed thing, but instead we do just see a Quetzaleno come screaming into that Koish slot regardless. I'm actually surprised I didn't see that on the Yowler, as the Koish dies a warrior on Sryzen's side. We see the show-off come down on Brasowski, the false Yowler right there, trying to make sure it gets a bit more attack into the double-in, potentially coming from the other side. But the Inky might wind up being the thing that turns this tide. Now that, we also get to see, of course, the landing transmog mean that Wiki Kernel gets that Inky, so we actually have two sparkling bullets charging into each other. This could be very fun. I'm assuming, of course, these are Fizzmaster, because once again, we do not see the Chamomile, which is almost omnipresent on Specmaster Inkies to make sure that you get that delicious Thunderstrike off without any exhaust on your Tem. But that remains to be seen. Neither of these Inkies have hold, so if they are Fizzmaster, we will only be seeing Sparkling Bullet this turn. Although, honestly, yep, nope, this is a Sparkling Bullet. We see that absolutely barrel into Wiki Kernel's Yowler. HP definitely favoring Sryzen there, as the double-in actually takes down that Yowler before the burn even matters. The Doppelganger Brooch doing the majority of the heavy lifting there, as the synergy vanishes from Wiki Kernel's Inky, meaning there's no KO on that side. Sryzen's going to be taking game 2, as I don't see a world in which this Mimit is going to be able to take this back. As the Sharp Stabs comes careening into this Mimit, we do in fact see our second game go to Sryzen. Despite a bit of a back and forth there, obviously, you know, those fire were a nightmare to try to deal with. But still, though, congratulations to Sryzen taking that back. So that's a 1-1 between our two contestants here. Wiki Kernel getting our first match there, Sryzen taking our second, so both will be walking away with 1 point. That was really impressive. It was fun seeing that from both of our contestants there. Sryzen definitely taking it back in game 2, showing us the power of Fizzmaster Inky with Sparkling Bullet there. Lots of damage coming out. Fizzmaster definitely still a powerful trait. A bit more versatile than your Specmaster Inky. If you're looking for more potential Inky plays, I know Jay Dorgan likes Inky. I don't know if it's on his team, but at 1430 UTC, J-Dragon will be going off against Zookly. So that's more fellow tamers, more fun, high TMR PvPers coming out against those fellow tamers players in this particular tournament in our Group A match that is upcoming. In the meantime, though, don't forget to check out our standings and check out how things have been going so far, which will of course be available as the command ! standings if you're watching on our Twitch right now. If you're checking this out later in YouTube, we'll make sure to have a link of the standings in the description. But in the meantime, I'm going to be signing off right now, as it's going to be a while before our next match happens there, and I'm going to thank everybody once again for stopping by. I'd like everybody to have a wonderful day. I've been Quarter. Thank you so much.